another episode of the 5-Minute Life Changer podcast. This is your podcast host, Robert Landau. I am also a national motivational speaker and certified life coach that works with people all around the world via Zoom. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, which I call How to Find Inner Peace, Why Freedom is Just Around the Corner. Interesting title if you think about it, particularly the second part. Why would freedom be just around the corner if you happen to find, acknowledge, experience, and feel inner peace? Well, here's why I feel this is important. Today's society, today's culture, today's world is so frenetic, so busy, so distracting, so filled with noise that it keeps you away and separated from who you really are. Who are you really? I feel that who you really are, among other ways to describe it, is inner peace. That energy, that vibe, that feeling, that knowing, that awareness, and that being. All of this is who and what you really are. So how did I find this out? I often, in this podcast series, like to go back to my international cruise directing days. For close to 10 years, as many of you probably know by now, I was fortunate enough to work on many different cruise ships with many different cruise lines as a cruise director, 300 ports of call on close to 400 cruises. But here's the thing, my schedule was insane. Back in those days, I would work a minimum of 9 months on a ship without one day off as a cruise director. Being a cruise director on a big cruise ship is kind of like being in a Broadway show that never closes. It's kind of like being at work and never getting to go home at 5 p.m. You live where you work, and the people you work with, that's all you see 24/7. How do you get through something like that, where you're always on as a cruise director? The moment you step out of your stateroom in the morning at 6 a.m., you're on. You represent the cruise line. You are the one that is responsible for the energy on the cruise ship. You have to sell stuff, you have to make people laugh, you have to entertain without one day off, minimum contract of 9 months. When a cruise ends Thursday morning, 4 hours later the next cruise begins, and so on and so forth. How in the world do you find inner peace? And that was my challenge, because I can remember feeling so stressed and so exhausted. As I was emceeing a show, I would bring out an act and then go backstage and wait for them to finish their act. And while I was standing backstage, I found myself falling asleep on my feet. So I had to do something. I had to change and shift that energy and realize that inner peace was not that difficult to find, because it was within me all along. The energy of peace is in every breath you take. It's in every beat of your heart. You just have to get your mindset there. So if you're stressed, if you can't even connect with the inner peace, that energy that always exists within you, step one, because this is what I did to acknowledge that too. Step one, I had to realize and consider the possibility that inner peace really existed within me, even though I wasn't sure that was true at the time. Belief unlocks doors that have been slammed shut for years. So you got to believe, you got to acknowledge the fact, the possibility that inner peace might be who and what you really are. And then when you open the door a little bit to that possibility, that belief, then you got to connect with it. So take short times during every day, like right when you get up in the morning or right before you go to sleep at night. Close your eyes and just be aware of your breathing process, your breath. Do a little smile, half smile, and start to ask inner peace to make itself known to you. In other words, it's a little exercise you do. What would it feel like to experience inner peace now? While you're lying there or sitting there, just as you wake up in the morning or just before you go to sleep, or any time during the day when you can really take a break and you are not driving a car. Start to feel what inner peace feels like. Give yourself that gift, and it will start to make itself known to you. But you gotta take the first steps to realize that. Inner peace is there. It's something that you don't even need to find necessarily. You just need to reconnect with it. Right here, right now, could I ask you just to give me a little smile? Just a little smile. Take a nice deep breath like this. And just feel peaceful. Just feel peace. It's always there. But it's up to you to connect with it as much as possible. The more you connect with it, the more you will feel it. Just ask me. I'll tell you, it's how I got through close to 10 years of cruise directing 24/7. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the 5-Minute Life Changer podcast. In peace, I look forward to having you along with me on the next episode.